Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. This is Jim, and here's another RV10 update. I'm working on the latch handle mechanism for the first door that I'm still working on. And I got the door to fit a little bit better than what you saw in the last video. Still needs some work, and I've seen some finished RV10s now. I looked at the doors real close and to learn a little bit more about that, which is always a good idea if that's available to you. So that's the stock Vans mechanism there, and what I'm going to point out, and a mistake I've made and I'm paying for it, should be here in a couple of days, is I cut these gear racks like Vans specifies, but I have the plain around door latch modification, and I'm trying to find the front page here so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is what I've got, the new, for a new door, which is what I got. It's 180 degree rotation. On Van's original design, that handle will only rotate about 90 degrees, maybe just slightly more. And this design adds this gear rack here with this cam that rotates. So it rotates about 180 degrees, and if you could see it under here, you can see where it's beveled there. It's gonna engage a block that gets mounted here on the frame of the door, or the whatever that's called. And so as that rotates, as you're moving the latch, the pins are extending, you're turning the handle, which I'll move that paper and show you. Then that helps to pull the door in here at the middle. It also provides a security latch to help keep, if everything else failed, this might still hold the door closed. And so it pulls the door in and does that and helps you to get the pins engaged. The mistake I made, and this was probably due to being absent from the project for several weeks, maybe even more than that. I read these instructions, but I missed, or either I saw it and then I probably just forgot about it. Because I got the stuff, I read it somewhere in here. I'm not going to find it for you, but it says to cut, you get from Vans 2 10-inch pieces of this gear rack, and you end up cutting it into thirds when you do that from Vans. But when you're putting this 180 degree kit on there, then you cut this in half, so you end up with 2 5-inch pieces. So that's the parts that I had to reorder, and I ordered them from Sean at Playing Around, a little bit cheaper, and I'm sure I'll get them faster. Vans is pretty slow sometimes to ship stuff. So I'm getting those new parts. I can keep working on it and kind of get things engineered and get things fit right. But you have 2 5-inch long pieces here, and that's just so that it can rotate that 180 degrees. With these being so short, it's only going to rotate about 90 degrees, and that's what this mark is on here that shows me how far the gear is rotating and the handle rotates. So that's where I'm at. Part of the mod is that you cut this square hole and you slide that gear assembly in there. I think the pins are a little bit longer. I still have to identify how long that one should be, and then I'll cut it and put the bevel back on it. The way I did it, his plans tell you to cut off the other end of it and then put a new slot and drill the hole like that. But I didn't see a problem with actually cutting off the pointy end. That way I left the slot stock, and then I'll just have to cut the length here, and then I'll be able to put the bevel on it. And that's where I'm at. Hardest part of this part of it is that this is the Vans stock block, and you have to grind off the corners to fit the radiuses in here so that it fits in there nice. And this must be the one for the back, unless I got it backwards. That's a little better, but you grind that down. I was using the mill and kind of 45 in it, and then sanding it. Just kind of a slow, tedious process of getting that ground off, and trying to get it to fit perfect is pretty touchy. Just because this radius is sort of a weird. Nothing in there is standard. It's just I think that's part of fiberglass. I mean, this is molded up against the tool, so I'm not sure why they couldn't have done more 90-degree angles and a constant radius in there, but that's how it is. So yeah, you use the Vans blocks, you get the holes identified and drill stuff, and then you get new parts with this kit, and then you have to do the same thing after you've identified them. With that one, then you're putting this in place. So that's where I'm at, and keep working on the project. Don't take big gaps, because you'll end up screwing up stuff like I do. I don't know if I finished my story, but I read that. I read the instructions probably on there and not cutting it. Then when I finally got back to working on the door, I thought, I'm going to go ahead and start working on some of these other parts, and I went ahead and cut that stuff like Vans calls for. It's interesting, in their plans they tell you to save this part. I'm not sure that it gets used anywhere else in the airplane, so I'm not sure why you'd have to save it. And the only thing I can think is that you can actually use it to help identify the holes that you're going to cut here on both sides, because these are too long to fit down in there like that one does. If you look at that, it's way too wide, and it would not fit down in that slot. So you couldn't really use it at the right elevation to identify where the hole goes. But to me, that doesn't seem like very worthwhile. It's funny. And then I even looked online to try to find a source for this gear rack. I even thought about trying to cut my own, which would be a fun project, but very tedious, and I'm not really set up for it. I don't have any gear cutting cutters. I'd still like to try that, but you can't find this gear rack except from I think McMaster Car has it. And it's funny that Vans and Sean sell this stuff in 10-inch sections, when what you find on McMaster is 18 inches. So I'm not sure Vans is scrapping 8 inches off of every part they order, but they probably are getting the longer pieces from somewhere, from the original manufacturer, because McMaster's not making that. They stock it and sell it. Anyhow, if anybody knows about that, the source for that stuff, I'd be real curious to know where to get stuff like that. It would have been perfect if I could have found a 20-inch piece of this. That would have been just what I need. So 18 inches was just, and 18 inches might have been enough, because that'd only be like a ½ inch short on each of these, and that might be enough. You don't really technically have to have 180 degrees of rotation to make all this do what you want. But I went ahead and ordered the parts. That's the penalty, and we'll see you next time.